No one really talks about what happens to a woman after divorce. Not the filtered version she posts online, but the quiet, private unraveling that follows once the applause fades. She believes she's entering a new chapter of freedom, but what she's really stepping into is a psychological maze built from her own illusions. At first, it feels intoxicating. The new space, the compliments, the idea that she finally reclaimed her life. Yet behind every confident smile lies a storm of doubt she's too proud to admit. Because sooner or later, the world she imagined collides with the world that actually exists. And that collision changes everything. Number 1, illusion stage. The feeling of false liberation and freedom. The first stage is what she believes to be liberation. The illusion of freedom. In those first few weeks after signing the papers, she feels an electric rush of victory running through her veins. The silence in the apartment feels peaceful instead of empty. She decorates the bedroom, burns new candles, plays music she always said you hated. She posts photos with radiant smiles, captions about new beginnings, and her friends flood the comments with validation. You look happier than ever. You're glowing. You deserve this. And for a while, she believes it. Every message feels like proof that she made the right choice. Every compliment is a brick in the fantasy that she's finally become the strong, independent woman she always imagined. But beneath that high lies something far darker: denial. The truth is, she's not celebrating freedom. She's celebrating escape, not from you, but from the discomfort of self-confrontation. Because the marriage, no matter how flawed, gave her something that independence cannot: structure, reference, gravity. Now, for the first time in years, there's no one to text when she gets home, no voice to argue with, no hand to reach for in the middle of the night. She tells herself this is empowerment, but her brain is quietly panicking, searching for the familiar rhythm of shared life that has suddenly vanished. So she fills the silence. She signs up for yoga, joins book clubs, downloads dating apps, just to see what's out there. Each activity becomes a form of anesthesia: movement to avoid stillness, noise to cover the echo of her thoughts. The men she meets online tell her she's beautiful, sexy, desirable. It's attention she hasn't felt in years, and it's addictive. She mistakes this flood of novelty for genuine connection, confusing the quantity of attention with the quality of affection. She doesn't see yet that most of these men aren't interested in her soul, only her momentary vulnerability. In this phase, everything she does is a performance for an audience that no longer exists. The makeup, the outfits, the motivational quotes, they're not for herself. They're to prove to the world that she's okay. But deep down, she knows she's trying to convince someone else, maybe you, maybe herself, that she didn't make a mistake. Every time she uploads another smiling photo, there's a flicker of unease in her eyes. The subconscious whisper, if I'm truly happy, why do I have to keep proving it? The honeymoon with herself continues for a few months, but it's fragile. Like a house built on air, it collapses the moment real life creeps in. The unpaid bills, the lonely dinners, the cold side of the bed. What began as freedom slowly morphs into weightlessness, and she realizes that being untethered isn't always liberation. Sometimes it's just floating, nowhere to land, no one to hold, no gravity to keep her grounded. That's the cruel irony of this first phase. She didn't escape a cage. She simply stepped into a prettier one, built from illusion instead of bars. Number 2, collision stage. When the outside world isn't as welcoming as you dreamed. The second stage comes quietly. The collision with reality. It doesn't happen in a single moment, but creeps in through the small cracks of her new life. It starts with something simple, like a date that looks perfect on paper. The man is confident, funny, charming. They share dinner and wine, maybe even a few stories about failed relationships. For a few hours, she feels seen again, desired again. But then the night ends, and she realizes he doesn't actually know her. Not the way you did. He doesn't know her nervous habits, the little fears, the secret routines. To him, she's just another woman passing through his weekend. The illusion of connection vanishes as fast as the check is paid. She brushes it off, telling herself it's just one bad night. She tries again and again. More apps, more faces, more empty conversations that all blur into the same hollow rhythm. Every compliment sounds recycled. Every "you're beautiful" feels like an echo from a stranger's mouth. Slowly, she begins to understand that attention is not affection, and that validation isn't intimacy. But admitting that would mean confronting the possibility that she miscalculated everything, and her pride won't let her. At work, she starts noticing things. The men who flirt are married. The single ones are emotionally unavailable, detached, or just playing games. Her female friends, once full of advice and encouragement, begin to drift. They're busy with their husbands, their children, their own worlds. She used to belong somewhere, to a family, a home, a shared identity. Now she belongs nowhere. The emptiness becomes louder in the quiet hours. She eats dinner alone, scrolling through her phone, pretending she's fine. The silence is deafening. She can't stand it, so she fills it with noise. TV in the background, constant scrolling, music playing all night just to avoid thinking. But no distraction lasts. Because every so often, she remembers that you used to sit across from her, asking about her day, making small jokes over dinner. Now, there's only the reflection of herself in the dark window, staring back. Her friends still tell her she did the right thing, but even their voices start to sound uncertain. The same people who said, "You deserve better," now talk about how hard dating is, how few good men are left. Their words hit differently now. For the first time, she starts to wonder if maybe better doesn't exist. Maybe it was just different. This is where reality starts peeling away the fantasy. She realizes that the world outside marriage isn't a playground of freedom, but a marketplace, cold, competitive, and transactional. The charm of new beginnings fades, replaced by fatigue and confusion. Every time she meets someone new, she compares him to you. Not consciously, but instinctively. The way he laughs, the way he listens, the way he fails to understand her without words. And slowly, the man she thought she wanted to escape begins to look, in memory, like the only man who ever really understood her. That's when the second illusion breaks. She didn't leave a man who failed her. She left a man who knew her. And now she's surrounded by strangers who never will. Number 3, Emptiness Stage, when the spotlight fades away. The third stage arrives like a slow leak. Not an explosion, but a steady draining of energy, excitement, and meaning. The mask she's been wearing begins to slip. The glowing selfies, the confident captions, the new life, new me posts. They start to feel forced, even to her. What once felt like freedom now feels like fatigue. Her days blend into one another. Work, errands, half-hearted dates, empty nights. There's no dramatic collapse, just a quiet sinking, like a boat taking on water, inch by inch, while she keeps smiling for the passengers. This is the emptiness phase. She still tells her friends she's fine, But her tone is flatter now, her laughter slower. She starts canceling plans, staying home more often, telling herself she just needs rest. But it's not rest she needs. It's meaning, and she can't find it anywhere. The silence that once felt peaceful now feels hostile. She realizes she's surrounded by noise but starved of connection. Her social circle begins to shrink. The friends who cheered her independence are busy with their own lives. Their messages come less often. The weekends stretch endlessly. She tries to fill the void, maybe by redecorating the house again, by traveling, or by buying things she doesn't need. But each attempt only deepens the hollowness, because nothing external can fix an internal fracture. Then comes the self-questioning. Late at night, lying in bed, she wonders, is this what I really wanted? She replays old memories, but they feel different now. Even the arguments that once seemed unbearable look small compared to the silence she lives in now. The house feels too big, the bed too cold. She checks her phone for messages that never come. She tells herself she's strong, but her strength feels like loneliness wearing armor. There's a cruel irony here. She used to complain about routine, the sameness of married life, the predictability. Now she craves it. She misses the sound of footsteps, the smell of dinner cooking, even the small annoyances that once drove her mad. Because those things, trivial as they seemed, meant she belonged somewhere. Now, she belongs nowhere. Not to a man, not to a home, not even to herself. This stage isn't about sadness anymore. It's about numbness. She doesn't cry often. She's past that. She just feels nothing. Her emotions have gone quiet. Her energy dulled. The excitement of starting over has died, leaving behind the dull ache of reality. Every "I'm fine," she says out loud, feels like a lie she no longer believes. And yet, she can't go back. Pride and shame chain her to the illusion she built. Admitting regret would mean tearing down the story she's told everyone. That she was brave, that she was right, that she's happier now. So, she continues the performance, one exhausted smile at a time, trapped between the past she destroyed and the future that never arrived. That's the tragedy of this third stage. It's not the loneliness that hurts most, but the realization that she chose it, and now she must learn to live inside the emptiness she created. Number 4, crisis stage. When financial reality, children, and loneliness all hit at once. The fourth stage hits like a cold wind. The collapse of stability. This is when life stops being emotional theater and starts becoming logistical chaos. Bills pile up. Rent, utilities, groceries. All the things that used to be shared now sit squarely on her shoulders. For the first time, she understands the invisible comfort of partnership, the quiet math of two people building one life. Independence sounded romantic until it meant doing everything alone. At first, she tells herself she's fine. She cuts corners, picks up extra hours, maybe even starts a side hustle. But exhaustion creeps in like rust. There's no one to share the load, no one to complain to when things break, no one to care when she's sick. The little inconveniences of life, the leaking faucet, the flat tire, the bad day at work, used to be softened by a simple presence. You. Now, every problem feels heavier because she has to carry it alone. And then there's the emotional toll. Her children, if you had any, begin to act out. They sense the imbalance, the missing half of their world. They ask questions she can't answer without guilt. She starts feeling like a stranger in her own home. The walls echo with memories she tries to suppress. Sometimes she catches herself thinking of calling you, not out of love, but out of habit. because for years you were her emergency contact. And now she doesn't have one. Her professional life doesn't save her either. She might work harder than ever, but it's not fulfillment. It's survival. Every paycheck vanishes into responsibilities. There's no space for dreams, only duties. The independence she once flaunted now feels like a cage built from bills, schedules, and sleepless nights. Freedom has a price, and she's starting to realize she can't afford it. Socially, things begin to change too. Her married friends drift further away. She's no longer invited to dinners. Her presence makes couples uncomfortable. The single friends she once bonded with? They're chasing youth and novelty in a world that seems less forgiving to her. She's not part of their carefree chaos anymore, but she's not part of the married world either. She exists in a strange no man's land. Too old for games, too lonely for peace. The fatigue becomes visible. Her eyes lose that spark. Her posture sags. The nights stretch longer. She's tired of pretending that strength is enough, tired of the constant performance of being okay. But pride won't let her admit it. So she keeps going. Autopilot mode. Wake, work, survive, repeat. And deep down, she starts to understand a bitter truth. The version of life she left, the one she called dull or suffocating, wasn't the enemy. It was stability. It was safety. It was the invisible structure that made everything else possible. She tore it down, believing she'd find something better. Instead, she found the raw, unfiltered cost of standing alone. That's the essence of this fourth stage. Not heartbreak, not anger, but exhaustion. The slow realization that freedom, when it's stripped of partnership, feels less like liberation and more like labor. Number 5. Awakening stage. When the mind is forced to face the truth. The fifth stage is the awakening. Not the peaceful, spiritual kind, but the cruel one that comes after months of denial. It begins quietly, in the stillness of her own thoughts. The distractions stop working. The dating apps bore her. The compliments feel empty, and the thrill of independence has turned sour. One morning she wakes up and realizes she doesn't recognize herself anymore. The strong, empowered woman she tried to become feels like a stranger wearing her face. This is when her mind starts to rewind. She begins replaying the marriage, not through anger this time, but through clarity. The good moments she once dismissed resurface in painful detail. The inside jokes, the small routines, the comfort of familiarity. Even the arguments look different now. She used to see them as proof of incompatibility, but now she sees them as the imperfect language of two people trying, failing, and still showing up for each other. That realization stings, because it means the problem wasn't always the marriage. Sometimes it was her expectations. Her brain, in its desperate attempt to make sense of the chaos, begins rewriting history. She remembers your flaws, but starts questioning her own role in magnifying them. She wonders if she was too harsh, too impatient, too easily influenced by others. The feminist slogans about self-liberation that once felt empowering now sound hollow. Independence feels overrated when it comes at the cost of intimacy. She doesn't want to admit it, but deep down, regret begins to take root. This regret doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it comes disguised as curiosity. She checks your social media, wonders how you're doing, whether you've changed. Maybe she hears from mutual friends that you're calmer now, more focused, maybe even happier. That information hits harder than she expects, because it confirms what she secretly feared, that you didn't fall apart without her. You improved, And that's where the psychological war begins. She can't reconcile two truths: that she left because she thought she deserved better, and yet you became better after she left. Her mind spins with what ifs. What if she had stayed? What if she had been more patient, more forgiving? But the past isn't a place she can return to. It's a locked door, and she's standing outside with nothing but the echo of her own choices. Then comes the guilt. Not for leaving, but for realizing what she's lost too late. She sees your face not as the man she divorced, but as the mirror of everything she threw away. Stability, loyalty, and a kind of quiet love that she once took for granted. It's not nostalgia, it's recognition. For the first time, she sees the full picture, and it terrifies her. Because now, she knows the truth. She didn't leave you because you weren't enough. She left because she thought she was missing something inside herself, and she tried to fix it by breaking everything outside of her. That's the essence of the fifth stage, the painful awakening. It's not punishment from fate, but confrontation with reality. The moment when the fog clears, and she finally sees what she traded away. Not a man, but a life. Number 6. Decline or rebirth stage, the two final crossroads. The sixth stage is the crossroads, the point where everything she's built, destroyed, and endured converges into one choice: collapse or rebirth. By now she has seen every illusion fall apart. The freedom she once romanticized has turned into solitude. The independence she once bragged about has become exhaustion. The mirror no longer flatters her, but it doesn't lie either. She can't hide from herself anymore. This is the moment that separates the women who crumble from those who rise again. Some break. They harden their hearts, convincing themselves that love is a scam and men are the enemy. They become cynical, bitter, their smiles sharp with resentment. They scroll through social media and scoff at happy couples, whispering to themselves that it's all fake. But deep down, they know the truth. They're angry, not because love failed them, but because they failed love. It's easier to despise the idea of connection than to admit they no longer know how to receive it. So they build walls instead of bridges, mistaking emotional armor for empowerment. Others, however, begin to rebuild. Slowly, quietly, painfully. They stop chasing noise and start seeking silence. They stop performing happiness and start practicing honesty. They finally grieve, not just for the marriage, but for the version of themselves that died with it. They sit with their loneliness until it stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like peace. These women don't rush to find someone new. They learn how to live with themselves first. This rebirth isn't glamorous. It doesn't look like Instagram empowerment or new love stories. It looks like early mornings filled with tears, late nights spent in reflection, and a long, patient process of forgiving both themselves and the man they once loved. They learn that strength isn't the absence of pain, but the ability to keep walking through it. And somewhere along the way, something changes. The resentment fades. The comparisons stop. She starts noticing small joys again: sunlight on her face, laughter with her children, quiet evenings without fear. She no longer needs validation to feel worthy. She no longer blames you to feel righteous. She simply is. By now, she's not the same woman who left. The world has stripped her of illusions and forced her to meet herself, raw, flawed, real. And in that encounter, she discovers something she never expected: peace. Not from running, but from understanding. That's the paradox of the sixth stage. The same freedom that once destroyed her now becomes the soil where she grows again. Whether she rises or remains broken depends on one thing: her willingness to stop lying to herself. Because once she does, the pain doesn't disappear, but it finally starts to mean something. Divorce doesn't end when the papers are signed. It lingers, reshaping both people in ways neither could predict. For her, it's not just the loss of a partner, but the unraveling of an identity, a reckoning with everything she thought she wanted, and everything she now understands she truly needed. There's no neat conclusion, no perfect redemption arc, only a quiet awareness that life after love is both punishment and possibility. Some women rise from it stronger, others remain haunted by the ghosts of their own choices. But in every case, the story deserves to be told. Not to shame, but to understand. If this story made you pause, reflect, or see things differently, take a moment to share your thoughts below. Your comment might be the mirror someone else needs. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but for the conversation. Because sometimes truth doesn't heal us immediately. It just reminds us that we're not alone.